right, and here is the video review for the finally found Cyberverse Ultimate Class Megatron. Now, my Targets got these in last Thursday, and have not put them out. And I knew they were in stock, but they couldn't find them because they're part of the refresh, so they came off the truck and just sat on a pallet. They weren't scanned into any location in the warehouse in the back, so nobody could go, they knew they had them, but nobody could go back and find them. I just had to wait until they put them out, and they finally did tonight. Before we get into too much detail on him, I do want to point out a thing about Starscream here. And I want to thank Christopher Williams for pointing this out in the comments on Starscream, because like you said, he's still got the gimmick. And as I was showing to Vault Matrix the other day, you can actually get about a full 720 on him before you start having to worry about the spring winding him up, and you let him spin. And you can click him counterclockwise to kind of get him back to a neutral standard, just if you want him to display as a robot position. There's this little gray tab back here that I honestly thought for the longest time was just maybe a non-functional way of, maybe you could wind him up and lock it, and then you push this button and that would activate the gimmick. But the way he works, your finger would get in the way of the gimmick. What that is, it's a little peg, because there's a slot in his landing gear. So when this is all folded up, when you're not actively using the gimmick, that landing gear locks onto that tab, so the whole thing locks together and holds his torso in a straightforward robot mode. So even if you can't click it precisely back to his front-facing position, you can actually lock it in place with that landing gear. Also, it helps get the landing gear out of the way. So I'm less upset about that landing gear not folding up back here because it's part of the locking mechanism. Still not the best toy in the line. Still not the worst toy in the line, from what I understand. But yeah, just an update on Starscream. Anyway, on to Megatron, or as I like to call him, the Beef Tank. Beef Tank! Beef, 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 beef. Beefy tank. Because he is. He's a big beefy tank. I mean, he's simplistic in his transformation, but, man, what a beef. I love him. I got Optimus mostly to be a rival for him. Optimus looks like a ham hock in vehicle mode. But anyway, he's a nice beefy tank. And he's a little simple. He's got some little rolling wheels, which aren't doing so well on here. But he's got little grooves in his wheels that when you're rolling him around on carpet or something, actually kind of sound, or like a hard table, actually makes a pretty decent tread noise, which is kind of cool. So again, the only real articulation here in tank mode, he doesn't have a rotating turret, is just that you push this button and his cannon pops forward in some sort of energon blast effect, which is still pretty cool. It's a fun little gimmick. It's not obtrusive. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to, and it doesn't affect the look of the tank when not in use. And I like that they left this open enough with just enough clearance so when you pop this out and that bottom panel comes out, you can hear it's not scraping. It has just enough clearance to pop out. Now, if you're playing on something like shag carpeting or really thick carpeting, maybe it'll get stuck. But for the most part, he's got plenty of clearance to flip that thing forward. So yeah. To transform him, you come down here, you fold these panels, that untab them from the back, and tab them into the foot there. And then you need to do the legs first, because if you lock the arms back, it locks this gimmick. So you bring his waist down, and as you pop it up, it pops his robot mode head up. And like I said, if you have the arms back, something about folding the arms in seems to lock this gimmick. Intentional or not, that's how it works on my copy, so always do the legs first. Untab his legs and then fold this panel down to the side. He's got a matching one over here, but this one doesn't fold out. Flip out his feet, and they will automatically extend. You can flip them forward, but they will automatically extend. And I like that he's kind of got his tread feet from movie Megatron. You can make him stand up on his tippy toes if you want. And there's his lower half all sorted. Now up here, this is kind of his attack mode in robot mode. And it's just his tank half with his head up, with the arms facing forward. And you can activate the gimmick by pushing the arm. That's the only way. You can activate it when he's fully transformed, but it's really difficult. Because, now at first I thought these clips were just like it so his cannon could clip onto either arm, but it actually is permanently attached to this arm, which is a little bit of a disappointment. But you can see here's the button that pushes in on this. And you can kind of push in on this little red piece here to make the cannon kind of gimmick. But you have to push it in a lot farther than your finger can really fit in that slot to make it extend all the way. So the button's really the only way to activate it. But you just fold these back until they click into place, and then fold his arms down, and there he is in robot mode. Now, like I said, he's fairly simple. He doesn't have a head turn, a head swivel, which that one kind of bugs me a little bit because this whole assembly slides down for the latching gimmick, and I don't know if maybe the latch is somehow inside his head. I haven't taken him apart to see how that gimmick works, but it feels like if this is just latching down, they could have engineered it in a way that at least his head on top of the neck could swivel. His arms, they lock into place here. He's got a swivel front to back and side to side. He has no elbows. Again, I get it with this arm kind of permanently. You couldn't really bend it with this attached anyway, but it would have been nice to have some elbows. No waist swivel. He does have ratcheting hips to the front and back and swivels to the side, and he does have knees as well as, you know, you can pose his heel a little bit. So he's simple. But nice tank mode, nice beefy robot mode. I really like the stylized look of this line. I just wish some of the toys had a little bit more articulation in robot mode. Because, like I said, that's pretty much it. You can point his cannon forward if you want, but you can't turn his head, and you really can't pose his legs. And if you can't pose the rest of him well, there's really no point in having more articulation in the legs. But yeah, for me, like they're $30 for the Ultimate Class at Target, and for this Megatron, like the size of him, he's roughly liter sized, and he looks nice. Like I don't know, like I said, I'm not going line complete on this. They put out all of the first wave. Nothing else really caught my eye as something like, oh, I'm going to check that out. I saw the Ultra Class Starscream that has the missile launchers, and just didn't sing out to me. Like this Megatron, I think it looks really cool. I love his tank mode. Like I pretty much bought him just for the beef tank mode. But yeah, for $30, I've spent way more on worse, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. And like I said, I really dig the stylized design of this cartoon, and I think they look even better in, like, you know, the box art and how they're going to look on the cartoon. But they're nicely stylized and they look nice. It would just be nice if some of the larger size classes had a little bit more articulation. So I feel like this guy was worth the $30 I spent on him. Your mileage may vary. It's definitely pushing the edge of that though. But for the size and the cool tank and like still a decently imposing looking Megatron on your shelf, I don't feel like I paid more than I should have. I wouldn't have paid more, if that makes any sense. And I understand if anybody who says that's just more than I'm willing to pay for that, I get it. It like I said, it's right there on that line. But very fun, very cool. And if you tune in next time, I also picked up his buddy Ham Hock here. And we'll do a full review of him in a minute. And you see they scale well together. Again, visually, I really dig the look of this line. I wish the toys had just a smidge more playability at every size class. Although there's that weird gimmick line where they only like half transform, and you know, I don't care about that. But anyway, there he is. A cool, if flawed, Cyberverse Ultimate Megatron.